Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 1982 DMC DeLorean. Now this was produced between 1981 and 1982 with around 9,000 being made before the company went bust due to being $17 million in the red. And yeah, this has a brushed stainless steel body which is fixed to a fiberglass underbody which itself is affixed to a steel double Y frame chassis, which helps make it really rather light in comparison to other cars at the time at 2,844 pounds. Has a 5-speed manual, though you could get a miserable 3-speed automatic. Independent suspension all round, cast alloy wheels and disc brakes front and rear. And yeah, it's also got a an engine that was developed by PRV, the Peugeot Renault Volvo Alliance, in the 70s, and it's a 2.85 litre V6 engine producing 130 horsepower and 160 pounds-feet of torque, which is easily the least amount of power you can ever get from that engine. Yeah, even you know, in the 80s with turbocharging, Venturi got a race car version of that engine up to more than 600 horsepower. So yeah, but obviously I wouldn't expect this car to have that amount of power, but still, this is way less power than other cars from the time. It does have a really rather large front boot though, as you can see, a full spare wheel as well, but still plenty of space in there for plenty of bags, so it's really rather practical in terms of boot space, and it's really rather notable for its gull-wing doors. But yeah, the gull-wing doors are pretty much the only futuristic thing about this car, because inside it's really rather just a sea of grey, although the interior could also be black, and yeah, not much in the way of equipment, and yeah, just pretty bland to be honest. And yeah, it's a bit of a shame that they didn't do more with that engine either, because they sold nearly 1 million of them in its 20+ year life, and yet in this it's easily its weakest form, which is a shame. But yeah, this car's most well known for being in the Back to the Future trilogy, which is really only why it's got any real, you know, love today. But still, despite its constant apparently reliability issues, 6,500 of these apparently are still around. So yeah, they've certainly been saved from the scrap heap of history by those films. But yeah, to see what this car's really like, we're going to get it out onto the drag strip, see how quick it can go before we hit the speed camera, and then we'll get out onto the racetrack and see what it does when it's being hooned around quite quickly. So yeah, let's get out there and see what happens. Right, so here we are at the drag strip, so let's see what this car that wasn't even really regarded as a sports car at the time can do even in modern times, when it certainly isn't seen as a sports car. So yeah, really rather leisurely rising RPMs, got really long gears. And now we hit 88 miles an hour. Significant for being in the Back to the Future films, a plot device. But yeah, that is not particularly great. It took forever to get to 60 miles an hour, which I'll talk about the times in a minute. And yeah, it's just got really uninvolving, you know, power progression. This is the antithesis of a Merc car. It's just slowly getting there. The engine doesn't even sound all that good either. There are certainly far better sounding V6 engines out there. I'm sure this V6 engine was put to good use in other cars, because they sold nearly 1 million of these, like I said, in its 20-odd year life, being featured in Volvos and Venturis and, you know, Peugeots and Renaults and the like, which is why this engine is most notably called the PRV engine, called Peugeot, Renault, Volvo. But yeah, it's just a little bit lacking really. But yeah, let's see what it can do on the track, see if it can make the most of all of the suspension it's got going on those disc brakes, because in terms of suspension and braking it's pretty good. It's got very little in the way of weight for a car of this type and from this time, and yeah, if it had more power it would be able to make the most of that, what it's got going on underneath. But because it doesn't, it's just like you're not really getting the best out of this at all. So yeah, 0 to 60 is unsurprisingly a really rather low time of high time of 9.484 seconds. 0 to 100 is dealt with in 35.1 seconds, and it will go to a top speed of 119 miles an hour, but you'll be forever trying to get to that kind of speed. So yeah, if this had more power, this would have been a great car, because yeah, you can feel that it's got the suspension, the brakes, and the technology underneath to really, you know, be a fun sports car. But with the lack of power that it's got going on, it's really just quite boring in a lot of ways, and it's not helped by the fact that it looks, outside of its styling, quite boring as well, with the brushed stainless steel, the grey interior. It's just, yeah, it's just a sea of grey, and it's just not exciting at all for what is supposed to be, you know, a sports car. They did try and market it as a GT car once they realised that people weren't going to accept the fact that a sports car can barely do 0 to 60 in 10 seconds, and yeah, that doesn't work either, because as a GT car you don't have all that much in the way of luxury. Yes, it's got a decent sized boot up front, but you know, it's not got much in the way of interior space, so yeah, don't really buy it being a GT car either. Now, I'm not trying to be a downer on this. I am really glad it's in the game, because we've not had it in a Forza game for a long time, so I am glad it's in the game, no doubt about that, and it should make a fun car when upgraded and whatever else. But yeah, there's no doubt that this car is really only loved nowadays purely because of its inclusion in the Back to the Future films, which is fine. There's plenty of movie cars that I love that, you know, might well have been somewhat ignored had they not been in certain movies, but the fact is a lot of those movie cars were actually good cars. You look at the Bullet Mustang, you look at the Dodge Charger, the Dodge Challenger. You know, those cars were in movies and TV shows, but at the end of the day, they were still good cars. But this just isn't really, unfortunately. But like I said, still glad it's in the game, and yeah, should make for some good and fun upgrade videos, like how fast will it go, or extreme off-road silly bills when I eventually get around to that. So yeah, you get this by doing the festival playlist. You have to get 26 points, because it's now a point system rather than a percentage system, which I rather enjoy. It didn't take all that long to get to those 26 points, and yeah, obviously if you're a fan of this car, then you will want to get those points as quickly as possible. So yeah, basically just do championships, which get you 5 points apiece, do some of the PR stunts, which will get you 2 points apiece, and yeah, a few other things, like the Eliminator, doing a hot lap round here in the Mercedes AMG 1, for instance. So yeah, easy enough to get, and yeah, no doubt that this car has gone down in car history purely because of a movie car, but still, it's not a car that is all that great, either today or back, you know, nearly 40 years ago. But yeah, still glad it's in the game, no doubt about that. But yeah, definitely would have, you know, liked a stronger start to the festival playlist. But yeah, as cult icon cars go, this is up there with the, you know, the biggest names out there. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.